Hello there, and welcome to the Sith Happens podcast. My name is Black Series Daily Desk, or known to my dear friend, the Dadalorian I'm looking at right now, Matty Ice. You may notice something a little different. We're not doing the long shtick that my friend, the Dadalorian, usually opens with. And the reason for that is we're going to celebrate Rebuild the Galaxy this week, which was a great piece of content that dropped last week. So why not
I don't know what to do with my hands.
So why not rebuild this podcast a little? When I told Eric I wanted to do it like this, he said to me, I've got a bad feeling about this. And I said to him, never tell me the odds.
750,000 to 1.
I would say it's more like 500,000 to 1, but again, never
A little
tell
bit
me
lower.
the odds, as my main man Han Solo says, who we'll talk a little about when we get into the show. But with that, I'm going to just kick right into it, unlike what we usually do, and say spoiler alert. Though, if you're worried
Yes.
about spoilers for a show that came out a week ago that is basically a multiverse Lego piece, I really can't help you. But come at me, bro, if you want to. And anyway, yeah, man, I'll just give me like a quick, like high level, like what are your feelings on the Lego content and like why you like to watch it?
Yeah, man. So, I haven't watched all of them because there actually is a lot of it, and just my job. My job's crazy, so I don't get too like the time I do get a lot of it. The 99% of it spent with my kids doing stuff there. The rest of it spent watching like the regular like live action Star Wars stuff and whatnot. Um, but I've watched a lot of the Lego stuff, and honestly, I love it, man. Like it is for kids. So like for me with a 3 and 4 year old, it's really awesome that I have this to watch with my kids because my kids are like at that age they're starting to get into the Lego stuff. Like we've done a few Lego kits together, we've done some builds and everything, and they love it and they see, these and they love the humor behind it, the colors and everything. And I gotta tell you, this Rebuild the Galaxy that just came out, right? Dude, it looked amazing. Like
Oh,
visually,
it was beautiful.
yeah, it was visually better than any other Lego Star Wars that's come out before. And it's a cartoon for kids, man. So like if you're gonna like really critique this, you can bite me honestly. But like it was a really fun little series to watch.
And I think that's a great point because, like, let's just take a step back. And we've talked about this. And I know there are things like Andor that are darker,
Hmm.
but ultimately, Star Wars is for children. It is a
Yeah.
children's fable about good and evil. And I think what's really important and fun about it is with these Lego things, and especially this, which by the way felt like a feature, and it was fun. It had great Easter eggs for adults that love Star Wars, but kids could follow along.
Hmm.
And like it's similar, like think about like a Pixar movie, right? There are jokes for adults, there are jokes for kids. The end makes adults cry, right? Ultimately,
Yeah.
unless the kid's like a little bit older. This didn't make me cry, obviously, but I didn't expect it to be a 4 part, series. And that,
Yeah.
but it
No,
felt
that
like a
threw me off.
feature. It felt like a feature, and I was ready for the sequel with the Landalorian. But like
Yeah.
ultimately, yeah, like I love about this specifically is when you think about, we've talked about your first Star Wars experience being Return of the Jedi in theaters. We've talked about, it's like funny for me because my dad showed me Star Wars when I was 4 because he didn't want to
Hmm.
watch G.I. Joe anymore. But like it's funny, when I saw Star Wars when I was 4, I wasn't like fully online. You know how there's like a moment where you're growing up where you're like, oh shit, I'm a human being, and you like start having memories. But I have these vague memories of how I perceived Star Wars and specific scenes and moments that are very different than what's in the movie, right? But
Fair.
I remember loving it and having fun. And Star Wars is fun, and these are fun, and this felt like a feature, and the beats and the moments and what was going on in it were just, it felt to me, and you and I think egregiously say a lot for a lot of the content. It feels like Star Wars, and it's like, no shit, it's Star Wars. And I don't think we're gonna stop saying that when we review shows or talk about things. But
No.
this, to me, truly felt like Star Wars.
It did,
And
and
that,
I think the thing that's really amazing when you consider it is, like, it's a Lego movie, bro. Like, there's 100 different Lego movies out there. My kids watch the what is it? The Jurassic Park ones and everything like that, I've gotten them into the Star Wars one, and, like, honestly, it's just they're really fun movies, and this did have it, obviously, it had some very different feel to it because of,
yeah,
shifting the galaxy and everything like that, but it felt like Star Wars because it brought in all of this cool stuff, whether it was Easter eggs or, all these characters across every bit of Star Wars, from prequels, sequels, original, even that kids show that came out, the Jedi Academy, I think it is, or something
Yeah, that
like
was one
that.
of the Sith that was working with
Yeah.
Darth Devastator, and it's like, but I think like also like think about the nods they give to us to make us enjoy it. Like you had
Yeah.
Dark Jar Jar Binks, Darth Jar
I
Jar,
loved it.
which is a Reddit theory, and it's like when he's like, "I am the Phantom Menace." You used to think I'm
And the
not the
fact
Phantom
that they
Menace, so
brought Ahmed Best back for that, like, just
oh
thank you
yeah,
so much.
and like Billy D. Williams came back and Mark Hamill did the voice, and they're having
Mhm.
fun with it, and I think
Yeah.
like a part of what makes these so great, and we were talking, you and I, a little before the podcast about the Lego Halloween, which I know they did the summer vacation. I know they did the holiday special, which is great.
We're
But
in
the
the shirt.
Lego, I know, there we go. Vinay, can Vinay help
Vinay.
you? And like, I love the Lost Boys nod there for adults, but kids can still enjoy it. Our favorite line, my wife and I, we love the summer special. Is when the Emperor, they're talking about him needing a vacation. And I love the Emperor being in this. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And Rebuild the Galaxy is the I haven't been able to get my zaps in. I've only been getting 2 zaps a day. Like we love that, and we love that character, and it harkens back
Yes.
obviously to Seth MacFarlane, Emperor, in a really
Mhm.
good way. But Seth MacFarlane, however I probably that's probably the right way
I
to say
think
it.
it's Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, but anyway, like yeah, but so like it harkens back to that what Robot Chicken was doing for adults with like Star Wars, and it's just
So
like
underrated.
beautiful way to bring everything in. And one of my favorite things about the show, and again, everybody, Eric's not running this, so there's no script. We're just gonna go fast and loose. How I
Yeah.
like it, Han Solo style. See where the galaxy takes us. I've got a good feeling about this. But what I loved about this was even the nods to fans that Disney, worked with the writers. The writers were definitely people like us and not your typical Star Wars writers who follow social media, who understand how people feel. They gave subtle digs at some of the things the fans have not liked, or nods to what we call the fandom menace or whatever. At the beginning when he's telling the story and
Yeah.
he's like, "You guys don't want to hear more stories? Maybe we'll open the book of Boba Fett." And one of the characters he was talking to went, and it's like
I
that,
was
which
laughing at that,
yeah,
man.
which you and I like the Book of Boba Fett. We've talked about it. I
Yes.
don't like episode 3. Episode 3 of the Book of Boba Fett is the only thing that I've ever been like, fuck this in the mouth when it comes to Star Wars. But with that said, those nods and like making fun of The Last Jedi with Luke, where he's like, and then I got old and cranky. Like it was just such a what I think is great about these is they're for kids. They're for
Mhm.
adults who love Star Wars. In my household, there's different degrees of Star Wars fandom. I would argue that my wife never expected in her entire life to know as much about Star Wars as she thought she would. But she laughs at all of it because what they are is a love letter to Star Wars fans
Yeah. And
in a way
honestly,
that
man,
children can understand.
yeah, and like I think that's something that just was like what I love about what they do with these, man, is like, more or less it is adults who do get into the Star Wars, or like maybe teenager and above, so to say, because it is, really based on like teen and adult type things for the most part. And then like doing stuff like this where you can make it relatable for kids is awesome for a person like me, because I got a 3 and a 4-year-old. They're not quite at the age where they understand it just yet. They're still trying to figure it out, and they're still figuring out what they like and everything like that. But it's a fun movie that, or series that I could sit down with them and I could watch this. And especially I get a break from Bluey or anything else that they've been watching.
Well, have you
So
ever seen the YouTube series Galaxy of Heroes? It's like the animated series where they do like
I don't think so.
30-second to 1 minute cut downs using the audio from the movies. They ultimately like transition into being more like original stories, but they're these like 30 to 60, maybe 90-second cut downs using audio from the movies where they're like in a galaxy of heroes. Or maybe it's called Galaxy of Adventures. Han
Mhm.
Solo is top notch. I'm going to keep talking about Han. He's my boy. But like Han Solo is, I know Eric, whatever. Han Solo is top notch. And then they just show you this really cool animated, like 90-minute thing with all the clips from like all the audio clips from the movie, but like a new animation or talking about the Skywalker legacy. And it like is a quick way to get kids with a short attention span to love Star Wars.
Mhm.
And I think that's what people forget and why this is so enjoyable is, and I've said it again and again and again, Star Wars is for kids.
Hell yeah,
And like
man.
that's it's about good and evil and space wizards and rogues and smugglers and Jedis and the greater good. And I love when things like this come out because like
Yeah.
I don't have kids. I don't know if I'll ever have kids, probably not, because I don't want to share my toys. But if I did, or when I'm a cool uncle, um, that this is the type of shit I would show my kids, my
Mhm.
nephews, or my if
Yeah.
I had kids, to get them into it, because they don't have to watch a 2 hour movie like I did. Attention spans are different, but
Yeah,
this
let
is
me
a
tell you, I
rich,
tried to take my
beautiful.
daughter to Phantom Menace re-release. That was
I know.
interesting.
Yeah, I know you left early. You got to see Darth Maul ignite his lightsaber, and then you were like, "All right, I'm tucking and rolling." Um,
Daughter had enough at that point.
No, I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, it's funny, like my nephews and nieces, especially like one of my nieces has been like, "Oh, I want to watch it with you." And I'm like, "How do I show it to her?" Because I feel like the prequels are more accessible, but you've got to like be like, "Well, when you get through the prequels, we're going to get to the OT." And you're not used to how things looked back in the day. So, like
Yeah.
I think the right way to show it will always be the chainsaw order, which is like show them A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, then show them the prequels, then show them Return of the Jedi, then show them the sequels.
Yeah,
Or,
that's
just start with Solo and leave it there, which is brilliant.
I think the way to watch Star Wars is one of those great debates, honestly.
I was talking to somebody like 2 weeks ago when I was with friends who I'd never met, who was like, my favorite thing is like, we have a Star Wars podcast. We have, you and I have like multiple Instagrams. And it was funny because they were like, "Well, I've never seen Star Wars. Are you mad at me?" And I'm like, first of all, like, no, what a weird thing to,
Yeah.
we're going into How I Met Your Mother territory where he's dating the girl that's never seen Star Wars, and they go,
Mm.
the only people that haven't seen Star Wars are the people that live them. They lived the Star
They lived
Wars.
the Star Wars, man.
But like, I was trying to explain to her how to watch it, and I was like, you know what? Watch it in the order it came out. That's the easiest way
Yeah.
to do it. But I don't want to digress too much from the what we saw.
Rebuild.
I'm going to call it
Yes.
a movie. It's a movie. It's
It
four
is.
parts. It's a movie. It was like
They
a
were like
movie.
25 minutes each, so I mean, it's damn near 2
It's
hours.
a 2 hour movie, and it's great. And I think the fun of it, and that's where I want to kind of go now, is like I'll ask you, gun to your head, what is the part that made you laugh the most?
Oh man, see, there was a lot in there that really had me chuckling, but I'll be honest, the Landalorian at the very end had me fucking dying, dude. Like
Oh, it was
I
so
was,
good.
because like I was like going through the whole thing. I was like, man, I figured, Mando being like one of the really big things right now. I figured they bring him in, and then they bring the Landalorian at the very end, and I was just like, oh, you motherfucker.
Well, mine is funny because like first of all, like I would say, mine's a like tie, like with
Mhm.
like not an honorable mention. But number one is Maul. The name's
Oh yes.
Maul. It was the name's Maul. Rhymes with Paul, but with an M. But he was dressed like Lando, and that he was
Yes.
like a good guy. But then the other one is I am a sucker for a callback.
Mhm.
And if you go back to the first Lego holiday special, when they're going back in time and Vader goes and like sees Luke with the twin sons, and he goes, "My twin sons." He goes, "My son." He's like, "What?" And he goes, "Twin sons." Like I love the Vader knows it's his kids thing, and I love the at the opening of the like, when you first meet Luke, who plays the Han Solo role, which is fantastic. When he
Mhm.
goes, "You're gonna pay for fuel," and then they go, "I thought you just won a bunch of credits," and he goes, "That's Luke's money." And then later on, when they're like, "Who paid for like the C-3PO bounty hunter," which was fantastic, when he
Yes.
paid for that, and they go, "Who paid for him?" And then he goes, "I did." And they're like, "I thought that was Luke's money." And he goes, "That's everybody's money." And then, first of all, calling back to Ant being on last week, our homie, I am not a committee, when he showed us the white Darth Vader, like that's what they did there, which was great. And I love that then Vader goes, "I'm proud of you, son." And I was like, this is such a good callback and so well done. And that's like the joy. That's it, man. It has the joy of Star Wars. It's super
Yeah.
fun. I love the turning it on its head where all the villains are Jedis, which I think was awesome. Like Jedi Cad Bane. Also, a
That threw
great.
me off, man. Like, it was just so wild seeing, like, some of these, like, characters, you're like, "Yeah, this is a bad dude," and it's, like,
Yeah,
completely reversed, and, like, seeing, like, Infinite Vader in the Lego form and stuff, I was just like,
yeah.
"What in the hell?"
And I love, but again, Easter eggs for adults, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes it great. Is like it's fun for a kid. They don't need to know that reference, but it's still fun. But then I also love like like even when you're like going into that like with all of it like with like Grievous being a rebel, where he's like, my rage is not. I have my rage is immeasurable. You can't measure it, and like that's like
Yeah.
to me. And then another thing I loved, and then we'll get more into what you loved, was like when he's flying the space flying in like when they're in the space battle at the end.
Yes.
and like you know what's his name, Siggy or Sig, is like pew
Mhm.
pew 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 boom, and then
My
also
inner kid
Jedi,
was, like, living out in that moment,
yeah,
bro.
Jedi Bob JB. Oh, I've already still hate that, right? He goes focus, but if you think about it, right before that, like Jedi Cad Bane just got blown up.
Yeah.
It's like so funny, and like I love the aspect of that, that it's like this goofy, like fun thing, and also that it sets up a sequel. Like if you
Yeah,
think
it
about
it
the
really left it open, like, very, very open at the end there for, like, something like, I thought it was gonna, like, go to the end where, like, oh, yeah, it, like, resets it to what it was, but no, it's a new galaxy and everything, so for everybody bitching and moaning that, "Oh, is this canon now?" No, it's not canon, motherfucker, it's
it's
just having fun.
multiverse.
Yeah,
And they
it's
even
just
had a
having fun.
multiverse and a multiverse when you saw like the what looked like VHS footage of the old verse. And also I love like when we were watching it, we both said, my wife and I, like, oh man, Jedi Bob's yellow, like an old Lego figure. And then you
Mhm.
realize like that was the old Lego universe. And like before
Yeah.
they did skin tone. And like just the setup of that was so fantastic. And like it was so funny because it's 4 episodes, so it's a feature. But there's a
Mhm.
part of me on the fourth episode was like, did they film 4 more? And
Yeah.
like think about the way Star Wars, it really put in perspective for me A New Hope. Because if you think
Mhm.
about A New Hope, they defeat the bad guys.
Yeah.
Vader's, spinning in space, which we've talked about, last week, how I felt like Vader, if you really break him down, was not that cool outside of like Legends and expanded universe when you watch him in the movies.
Comics, Legends, and
Um,
Expanded Universe Vader is just a gnarly dude, but
I
compared
mean, well
to
then, yeah, well, new canon, man, you get like him choking people out in Obi-Wan and killing children, and
yeah.
like Rogue One, but yeah, like really deepening the character. But that was really it. They didn't know if they were going to get a sequel. That's where Splinter of the Mind's Eye came in. George Lucas like kind of commissioning a novel in case Harrison Ford didn't come back and they didn't get a sequel.
Mhm.
Um, that was really it for Star Wars. That was the end. And I love that now we know that doesn't have to be it. Like when people found out Empire Strikes Back was coming out, they were like, "Holy shit, we're getting another one!" Like Star Wars was in theaters. They didn't even have a premiere. It was like this
Oh,
huge
yeah.
sensation. It's a real thing. Look it up. They didn't have a premiere. It was like a huge sensation and people were lining up. And then when they got Empire Strikes Back, like there weren't a lot of sequels at that point to movies,
Yeah.
right? Like you might have a recurring character. So knowing that this is coming in with a sequel, right? And like could the sequel be with this
Mhm.
rebuilt galaxy is so, so cool, so fun, so much to speculate on. And again, spirit of Star Wars, man. And even like
Yeah.
Dev was basically Kylo Ren.
Yeah. No,
You know,
it
fight
really it was very Kylo Ren vibey.
Yeah, and fighting the night a little more badass, if I'm gonna be honest. But
Mhm.
fighting the Knights of Ren, at the end of Rise of Skywalker echoes him fighting his own acolytes with like Darth Ray, or like
Yeah.
Dark Ray or whatever you want to call her, like Sith Ray. But it was just like, yeah. I like it's one of those things that like 3 days later I look back upon fondly and I'll revisit.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I just wrapped it up today because it took me a little bit to get through it all. But yeah, man, like everything you said 100%. And I know one of the things I'm looking forward to, man, is I'm a Lego guy. That's risen with the tism kicking in right there, man. Fucking, I love me building some Legos. Um, I don't got too many sets at the moment, but like I've seen some of the ones coming out for this, and like the Dark Falcon set looks dope. They got
Dark Falcon's so cool.
I do. That's definitely a desirable one right there. And then like the new Jedi Starfighters and everything else, and it's just like, and I think that was like what was kind of fun with like, especially like the vehicle side of it. What they did with it is they just swapped X-wing and Tie Fighter wings and stuff like that, and made it like
Was
that
so
way.
cool. And that's what
And
playing with Legos is.
it is. It's like, and I'm like sitting there watching, thinking to myself like, man, I wonder if I could have done that.
Well, that's what's great about it. And like, if you think about the way kids play with Legos, right? Like when I was a little kid, like candidly, it was so funny. I was up on a vacation a couple weeks ago in the Catskills, and I went to a Walmart, which is rare for me. We've all talked about how I live in a city, and there was no new Star Wars toys. So when we went, there was the Peridia set of, with like Ezra, Thrawn, and like
Hmm.
Morgan of Legos, and I sent it to you, and I was like, maybe I'll do it. And we bought it. And we were up there for 2 weeks, and I started to try to build it, and I was like, "Oh right, I have no spatial awareness or patience with ADD, despite the rhythm with the tism, and which I have differently than you." So my wife built it, and it rekindled her love for Legos. And like we
Yeah.
bought more Lego sets, and I'm kind of like want to show her those Star Wars sets and be like, "This is for you." But
Mhm.
with that said, like following instructions is great, building stuff is great. But when I was a little kid, we would get Legos and I like playing with them when they were built. So believe it or not, like when for Christmas, we'd get like the Lego pirate ship. And my mom would build it. And then
Mhm.
one of my close buddies who probably listen to this, he's Crispy SBS on Instagram, one time came over and dropped one of my Legos in a bin and started building his own Lego. And
No
I
shit.
remember that was the
Okay. Yeah.
first, and he's one of those dudes, like when we were growing up, like he'd come up with his own like little creations in a notebook. Like we had G.I. Joe we loved, and he'd make like his own like series that mirrored G.I. Joe and like change it out. And that's what's great about Lego, though, also, is that you can
Yeah.
take TIE fighter wings and make, X ties or whatever they called them in it, or tie wings. And then you could make like these X wings that, had like, it's just like that's what's so cool about it is the joy of Lego, the joy of Star Wars, the creativity, everything we talk about, it's there. And not only does it get kids into Star Wars, but it teaches them about what creativity is, especially this movie that like
Yeah.
you can rebuild the galaxy and have your own Star Wars adventures, which, you and I playing with Power of the Force toys when they'd have those weird
Yes.
sets where Han Solo like had a huge backpack with orange straps. Or,
Mhm.
if you go back to the OG like OT stuff when they ran out of toys, they had the mini skiff that was like a one-man skiff that Boba Fett could sit in. That was like a set so you could have a little vehicle that you could afford. That's what's so cool about it is that imagination and taking it beyond what it is. Like when I was a kid, there was no timeline. When Phantom Menace came out, like,
Yeah.
it was like playing with those and like the the original trilogy toys. Fuck it. I'd be like the pilot Rick Olay from the Phantom Menace toys was old Han Solo, and like, Luke's kids were going to be like, the Obi-Wan Padme figures,
Yeah.
like, and like, that's the joy of it. Mix and match it, rebuild the galaxy.
Yeah. And I think we could just honestly say it right there with that, man, like wrap up our thoughts on it, like it was fun. It's really just something different in Star Wars, which I think, after especially a lot of the crap we dealt with Acolyte and everything, it's just something fun and different. And honestly, man, like I loved it. I think my kids will love it. And it's your own galaxy. It's Legos. It's designed to be you building what you want to build, man. So I, I,
Yeah,
I definitely liked it.
it gets no hate online because I think a lot of the serious fans don't bother with it, which is silly because
Probably.
they would love it and enjoy it. And I think that also, like, if you don't like it, like, eat all the bantha pootie that you can catch in a bag for Saboba, like, and that's really, but yeah, to wrap it up, man, it's the spirit of Star Wars. And I think, honestly, like, it's funny because I can say this because Ahsoka didn't come out this year. And
Yeah.
even if you match it against Tales of the Empire, this is my favorite piece of Star Wars content that came out this year outside of the comics, like hands
Fair.
down. Like my two favorite pieces of content are this, and we can get into comic books maybe one podcast, but Darth Maul, red, black, and white. Like other than those two things, like this and that were my two favorites. But
Hell
with
yeah,
that
man.
said, sorry, go on, brother.
No, I was just gonna say, hell yeah, I can't knock it.
Yeah, dude. By the way, if you want to check out those comics online, get into the Darth Maul red, black, and white. Like it is such a
I'll
cool
need to check it
comic.
out.
That's like an 4-issue anthology about Darth Maul before Phantom Menace, and
Hell
it's
yeah,
like
man.
each one's a mission and written by a different writer and artist. It's cool. But with
Yeah,
that,
okay.
I think we can get into collector's corner. We said we'd keep this one short, especially because you have
Yeah.
to have me on a leash.
Yeah.
Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I guess I'll go first because that is rebuilding. Because I never go first actually. So keeping
Well,
in
I
re
am your main host instead of being the sidekick this week.
yeah.
Never again. Go on, bud.
So I gotta blow the dust off. It's been sitting here for a while. But so
Gross.
I got this, which is
Oh yeah.
my Lego T67 Jedi shuttle, and it is fully functioning. Has the rotating wings and
I mean, that's
all.
Ahsoka's ship at this point. Like that's what we can say,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So, but it's cool, man. So it's actually like the one thing I thought was cool when I was building this. It's actually one of the bigger sets that I've done in a long while. Cause I think it was like close to 1,000 or over 1,000 pieces. It's got like tons of little storage compartments, and it's got the rotating wings and everything. Just looks super cool. Yeah, just a really cool little piece, and it came with the Ahsoka, Marok, Sabine, and what's his name? Oh my god, I'm
Nice.
going blank. Hu
Hu
Yang.
Yang.
Yes,
Hu
those little
Yang.
minifigures for it. But yeah, this was definitely like this took a couple of days. It is a little bit bigger of a
My
build. Not
nightmare.
Yeah, like, honestly, like, I haven't done, like, a super big one in years now, like, it's been primarily, like, some of the smaller ones just because Legos are getting a little bit pricier, but it's got little firing Lego pieces and everything. It's just a fun little piece, man, and, like, one day, my kids get a little bit older, we can start doing these together.
I saw a great tweet from a guy who was like, when he and his wife got married 7 years ago,
Mhm.
he put on their registry the Millennium Falcon that came out that year, which is one of like the pricier Legos. And his wife was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he's like, "I'll wait till we have a kid to build it." And he posted a picture of his kid who was 5, and he was like, "The adventure begins." And that's thematically what we're talking about, which I
Yeah.
love. And that's what's really cool. And the nice thing about Legos for all of our listeners is, you know, Black Series, all the stuff Eric and I collect, TVC, prices and value aftermarket, even when you open it, fluctuate based on like, right now they're
Yeah.
re-releasing all the hard figures that they were to get. So for people like me who I wasn't going to sell them anyway, who had these rare figures, the market's flat, right? But Legos
Mhm.
seem to always go up and appreciate, which is cool, even when they're open.
That is the weird thing about them, man. Like, I think we talked about it like a week or two ago, where the one Lego that I have just never seen come down in price. There's two of them particularly. Is that fully interactive Death Star with it's got all the openings inside of it and all that, and the Arc 170 Starfighter. And the Arc 170 is actually getting re-released, but everything with that fighter, whether it's Lego, Hot Wheels, or anything, it's so damn expensive.
Well, I
Um,
always call the Arc the gentleman's X-wing.
a little bit,
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, no, it's awesome, and I love that about them, and I love like there's all kinds of collectors, and that's why we do Collectors Corner versus making this
yeah.
a figure focus show. With that said, I got 2 new toys this week
Okay,
that
let's
Eric
see.
is very aware of. Which one do you think I'm going to show?
Let's go with the Stabbed in Battle Droid.
Nope, and I'm going to tell
Ah.
you I've opened that toy. I took a great photo of it, which I'm going to send Eric, or Eric has the still of it. Please follow me at Black Series Daily Desk on Instagram. So what happens when I take over? Because I have a cool photo of it coming up tomorrow. But here's the weird thing about that toy. I was super excited. Took it out of the package. It's terrible. It's a beautiful looking toy. It is terrible on the stand. Like it falls
Oh,
off the
man.
stand left and right. And then my other review of it, and I don't regret buying it, is like today I was trying to take a photo with Rex flying it,
Mhm,
and I took the battle droid, like the little like plastic elastic things that hold it to it. I
mhm.
don't think that, first of all, it didn't work with Rex. Second of all, I don't think I'm ever getting that battle droid back on that without sticky tack or museum wax. So I'm not showing it, not out of protest, but I just feel like be warned, if you buy that, it is an in package toy. Or
Fair
if you're
enough.
gonna take it out, you got to keep all the elastic on it. But what I am going to show is my main man here, IG-12.
Hell yeah.
And with that, it comes with, and put that there, a little Grogu in it. So this is one of those things I pre-ordered, and then I thought about it after, I pre-ordered it, like, and it said it was shipping. Like, could I have waited? And then I got it, and I'm so happy I didn't wait. First and foremost, Grogu. Let's see if I can do this on camera. I just hit my mic. Sorry if that beat on the thing. Comes in and out of the chest piece, which you can
Mhm.
see here, opens up in a very cool
Oh,
way.
okay, nice.
Grogu's arms are posable, which I think is typical for like a Grogu figure, but it's really
Mhm.
cool. And then it comes with, and I'm going to go back to the main figure in a second, 2 little Anzellans, which, hey, and their arms move, which was like
Oh,
a real
nice.
surprise to me. When you talk about, it's not a deluxe figure. And when like they talk about, like, remember like the Book of Boba Fett Throne Room Boba came out, it was like
Yeah.
$35. There's nothing special about it. It had less pieces than the deluxe Return of the Jedi Boba. And it
Mhm.
was like, well, it's premium paint, which is like, what the fuck does that mean? But it's still a great figure. But this figure is a redo of the IG mold that they reuse. And look at the way it bends. You have full rotation on the hip
That
joints,
is I was gonna ask, how does it stand up? Is it pretty
and it
easy?
stands up great. I've got another photo that's coming out on Friday, which we don't need to have a still of, but like, follow me. But
Mhm.
I'm going to force Eric to put my masterpiece with the stap up. Arms go up and down like the original, better bendage here. The hands actually open and close, like the little
That's
finger
impressive.
things. So you can have it hold different weapons. Like just a fucking fantastic figure that, like, again, when I pre-ordered it, because we know I'm a pre-order guy, as it was coming, I was like, maybe I should have waited till it was like a little cheaper, or like seen and gauge the market. But glad I got it, and a great toy. And like, I've never gotten any Enzellians or Enzellans or whatever you call them. Could debunk that if you want. I know Ant
Mm.
has, are there like kind of like pseudo co-host.
Yeah.
but and he loves them. But like I'm gonna use those guys in a photo too. So
Yeah,
great
you can
toy.
definitely use those. No, that's dope as shit, man. I'm actually surprised it stands up as well as you said it does, because a lot of the droids from the Black Series line are so hit or miss.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, like a battle droid standing it up. Although I have to go look at my old battle droid figures. I've got like 10 of them. Some are in storage. The
Mhm.
battle droid on the stap does have rocker hips, like where it's more like
Okay.
this. And I don't remember, I know you don't open, so you wouldn't know if I'm holding it on camera for those that are listening. Sorry, the droid, the IG droid, but I don't know if they had that previously, which was like a really cool feature.
I did open a couple of the B1 battle droids that they
Yeah.
had from I think it was Republic Commando or Jedi Survivor when they were like mega clearance at GameStop, and those things just, dude, I could
Do they
not
have
keep
the
them
hips
standing.
that go up and down like that though, or it's just straight?
They
You
were
know what I'm talking
straight.
about?
They were
Yeah,
just
so then that's
straight.
a slightly new battle droid mode on that mold on that new toy, which is great.
I I
And
think those ones caught a lot of heat. That's why.
like I eternally bitch about the original and second generation mold of the clone figures, and like we always
Mhm.
get Rex in that second generation mold. Sounds like, from a pipeline they're gonna make the Rex from the Ahsoka series. So I think that'll be in the
Yeah.
new clone body mold, which like honestly of the pipeline reveals is the one I'm most excited about. Because I
Mm,
feel like the Anakin from Ahsoka is gonna come out. It's gonna be the same body mold as the Clone Wars Anakin. Also
probably.
featured in the photo that Eric's gonna edit into this. But it's going to be that new head that looks like Hayden, and then you know what? I'll get that too. But really excited for that Rex
Yeah,
also that's coming out.
definitely, man. So, but all right, man. Good collector's corners from both of us this week, and I think that wraps us up for this week, man. Nice and
Cutting us
easy
short when
show.
I'm running the show. But
Yeah.
yeah, good
But
call. Good call.
listen, I need to stop you before you say something bad. So, uh, but anyways, guys. So for those of you guys, I'm cutting back in now, running things. For those of you guys who hung out with us today, listen and watch. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Please check us out on Instagram at Sith Happens _ Star Wars podcast, where you'll find our link tree to all our various links to Spotify, YouTube, etc. Please go follow us on all of our platforms. We got plenty of good stuff coming up, more giveaways headed your way here in the near future. And with that, my friend Matt, got any final words of wisdom for us?
Sure. Thank you for joining what is clearly the most best structured, run by the handsomer host podcast we've ever done. Such
Oh, I will
clever
shut your
wit.
camera and mic off right now.
Yeah, shut such clever wit, such joy. But with that said, um, I think this was a fun one. And I think we, again, through the leadership of me, captured the spirit of Star Wars. And I will close with May the Force be with you always.
And once again, guys, thank you for joining us today. I am the Dadalorian. You can find me at the _ Dadalorian _ on Instagram. This is the way.